want to welcome you to another episode of Mindset Growth Podcast. My name is Gary Bontrager. I am your host today, and we're going to talk about serving others in the service of maybe your local community, charities, and some different things like that. Oftentimes, we get so focused on ourselves and what it is that we're doing that we become internally focused. You will hear me talk a lot of times also about learning from failures, having confidence, our physiology, how we carry ourselves. But one of the things that usually can make a big difference in all of this is really focusing on others and giving back and serving other people. There's a reason when I had my insurance business that I would have all the employees needed to get involved in some charity of some fashion. Sometimes it was something that would occur on a weekly basis, monthly basis, to even maybe just an annual one-time event. But I tried to get them all involved into something outside of the job. And the focus of that really was just to figure out a way to get people to focus on other people's needs and in bettering the community they had lived in, which also will change how we think and how we view ourselves. We get really caught up and focused a lot of times on what it is that makes our life better, how we're going to serve ourselves, and how we're taking care of our family. But if we can learn to be much more giving, it seems like then the things we receive are that much more valuable. Service of others is not that difficult. Typically, as a child, well, really not even typically, every child is born with the idea that they're going to protect themselves. They want to eat, they can't really take care of themselves, but as they start to mature and get a little bit older and eat by themselves, everything's, that toy's mine, this is mine. And through some guidance, usually from parents, they learn to share, they learn, they get to school, they learn to function in a larger group and understand more of those group settings. But we often can slide right on through that whole experience and become very creative and still trying to make sure that everything comes out to be the best possible option for ourselves. I want you to think about the difference it's made when you can look back in your life and there was somebody that you went and helped out. Maybe it was a neighbor, somebody who just had a misfortune, storm damage, illness. You could do something and they could not repay you, but you did it because it was a friend of yours. It was just out of the kindness of your heart, or maybe some organization you're involved with asked you to go help. Maybe your parents told you you needed to go help. But when we start to give things away, and a lot of that can happen in many different ways. It can be time, it can be financial, it can be things we own, personal property, things like that. But when we start to serve others and really put that effort in to visit with them, understand what they're going through, and work for those causes, it shifts our view on the world. I think often what I have learned for myself is it started maybe in the church setting, that you help others that were in that community. And then it went broader to the local community that you're in. And then as I got further into business, it started to happen on state levels. And then you got into other states and surrounding states and groups that it just kept expanding. And I think we see that our horizon expands as we continue to try to give and help those around us. And we soon understand that the world is not that big a place. I've got two daughters and they're both serve in the military. And one of the things that, jokingly they might say, well, we got our education paid. But I tried to instill in my kids a pretty high value of serving others. And all of them have done that. But just using the two girls for this example, their cause was that I always taught them that our country didn't owe us anything, and many people before us sacrificed so much that we need to repay that in any way that we can. Their option was to go serve their country and travel abroad and do the things they could do to make the world a better place for others, so that all of us back home can enjoy the life that we have.
Separately, I'm Gage.
And I'm Bontrager.
Together, we are Gage Bontrager Consulting.
We work on changing your mindset,
Developing leaders,
building systems and processes,
helping you grow personally and professionally
to achieve the success that you want personally and professionally.
however you choose to define success for you.
Reach out to us and follow us on social media or look us up on the website, and that will put you on a path to achieve what is missing in your life.
Thanks for watching this episode of Mindset Growth Podcast.
I just challenge all of you as you listen to this, what is it that you're doing? What are you prioritizing to serve others? There's different people with different gifts and talents, and so we're not going to do the same things. Some of those things will need to be local. You may be an older person that doesn't have the capability of traveling to help others, but there are people locally that are experiencing hardships that also may need a meal made. They just may need a visit. They may need a phone call. They may need routine checkups. There's a lot of things like that that you can do that'll help take your focus off of what it is that's maybe what you consider your miserable plight in life and make a difference in somebody else's. For myself, I find that if I'm helping others, it changes my confidence. It changes how I view myself. And it helps me understand that I'm not the only person that sometimes has difficult times in life. I just know that it has done so much more for me than it has done for them. I have heard the saying, and I'm sure you guys have too, that, if you're a believer, let's say, you can't outgive our Creator, because we will learn and receive so much more from helping others than what we ever get if we don't. And I know the reference is a lot of times made to money, but I think there's a lot of things more than money that can make a big difference. There are times people are going through hardships, and I know this from, personal experience and with friends, that it feels like all their friends have abandoned them. There's just life changes sometimes that can happen. It can be a divorce. It can be losing a partner through death, or just things like that. It could be some other tragedies that can happen, and they really start to feel isolated when they go through all that. And I think sometimes folks don't understand how to relate to those people more from the perspective they've never been through that experience, so they don't even know what to say and what to do. But if you can show up and give some support, sometimes when you say less, it's better, because sometimes the things people say at those times are a bit ridiculous. But if you're there, can drop off a meal, mow a lawn, help somebody out like that, or just ask some questions and let them talk. Let them share with you what it is they're feeling. You don't need to give them advice and fix their problem. But if you can give them that outlet to talk and to visit and try to understand, it'll make a huge impact on the person you're talking and visiting with. A little reminder I like to give myself when I'm in those situations: if I don't know what to say, let's ask questions that will help you understand. Too often we ask questions so that we can respond. But if we can ask questions so that we can understand, that person will feel heard, and it'll make a huge difference on how we connect and how we relate to other people. Too often when we're asking a question just so that we can respond, that response is coming in from a position of defense. But if we can ask it to understand, we don't need to respond. We can just be there for support and encouragement and let them know they're not all alone. I know this may seem like some of these things are a little bit redundant, but I think we often make it more complicated than necessary. I just leave you with this. The big difference for me has been when I can go out and serve others and try to impact their lives in a positive way. It has always come back in a much greater reward. And the things I have learned from their experiences when they share those with me help me to avoid creating a situation to where maybe I have to experience the same thing. Or when I do experience it, I can now understand better what I'm feeling and how I should react because I was able to listen and learn from that person. There's a lot of elderly folks out there that are lonely and that can teach us a lot. Years ago, I had probably one of my first personal development opportunities was to do a Stephen Covey class. And in that class, they had us commit to friending an elderly person that really doesn't have any family or anyone that checks in with them, and that's very alone, and to commit to seeing them twice a month for at least 12 months, and then either find another person or continue doing that with that person. For the last 30 years, I have done that with somebody, and sometimes they'd pass on and I'd find somebody else, but that has been one of the most rewarding things I have ever done in life is to find that other person that I can relate to. And it may just simply be your grandparents. It may be a parent, but a lot of times it can also be another elderly person that really doesn't have family close, doesn't have somebody checking in on them on a daily basis. If you can look to at least find one opportunity like that, I believe it'll change your life. Let me know, send me messages once you try that, how that has been effective in serving you to have a better and a more effective life. Serving others, there's nothing greater than a service to someone else. That's what really drives this community and this world. But I will really come back to the United States. That's really what made this a great nation, was the fact that they all served each other and did their part for someone else. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Mindset Growth Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and drop your comments and let us know if there are other subjects that you would like for us to address.